Today we're gonna make some dishes that look like leaves, and this can be used as a jewelry dish that's setting in your bedroom or maybe in your bathroom for when you wash your face or wash your hands. Some people just use them as decor. You can use them as like a soap dish, whatever you want. You can even make these into a necklace if you'd rather, make something to wear. Feel free. It's going to be the same process. You'll just poke a hole at the end and put a little ring in it. And each design is going to be completely yours. So I want you to really think about the marks and how you want your leaf to look. So obviously these are all a little bit different shapes. They have different marks, and we're going to use pencil for the marks. And so see how some of the pencil marks are really deep, so I pressed harder, and then some of them are really light. And to make them look more realistic, you want to do various of pressures for the drawing. And then all of the, everything around the leaf is going to be done with our finger. You can actually see my finger marks. All right, and so now these are a lot of different colors. This is all done with pigment. And so we've used these before, and I've dropped silver and gold at a lot of the facilities that I work with. And so if you have this silver or gold, then you can use that. You can always use both. Like this one has silver and gold on the edges. And so the silver and gold is always beautiful. I mean, a gold leaf I think is really classy. If you do want to use different colors, I suggest you buy maybe a set. They're called Pearl X, and they have the most amazing colors. This was on sale for about $25. Now I don't know if that's always the price. This was at Hobby Lobby, so you can go online and look, but you can see all the different colors. And so if you can buy this set, they are so much fun, and this will last for a good couple years. And if you wanted to make these for Christmas presents, you can make a whole bunch. And so if people are kind of stuck at home and not able to shop because of, they're quarantining, this is a good idea. This is a good project that you could kind of make unique presents. And especially if you buy different colors, you can make each one for, to match the house of whoever you're making it for. And jewelry. The jewelry's fun. And the jewelry is less clay, so you purchase less clay. All right, so for this project, we need our Sculpey clay. And, of course, we're going to warm it up. And this is a pretty big amount. I'm going to make a bigger dish. You, of course, can make whatever size you want. Like this one's smaller. That could even be a necklace. This is probably a little less clay. I just wanted to kind of make a bigger one so you can see it. So you'll need this. You're going to need a pencil. This is obviously a gross clay pencil, so it doesn't have to be a nice pencil, but it does need to have a good sharp edge. All right, and so that's pretty much all we're using today. And then the rolling pin is going to be optional. I'm going to show you both ways. If you don't have a polymer clay rolling pin, you can use your hands for this project. And actually it might be better because all the lines on your hands will kind of look like veins in the leaf. And so it adds just another, personal touch. So okay, because this is a bigger amount of clay, I'm really warming it up. And let me move these aside. Okay, so I'm gonna use the rolling pin first. And if you do have a polymer clay rolling pin, they're plastic. If you don't have this, you can use a can. If you just use like a soda can and make sure it's the same, width all the way around, you can use that to roll as well. So just look around your house and see what you have. And, kind of flatten it to start, and always flip because this clay gets warmed up. So you always want to flip and roll it, flip it, and then think about the shape of your leaf. Do you want a dish that's longer, or do you want kind of like a fat leaf? This is your choice. I want you to maybe think of leaf that you think is pretty from the prettiest tree from your yard or whatever, and go ahead and try to make that leaf. So I'm going to do kind of a rounded one, and this is big, so you probably won't use that much clay. Okay, so that's pretty good thickness. It's not going to be too thin, because if you accidentally drop it, which you probably will, at some point in your life, you might drop these. You don't want it to break. So this would be good. This you could drop on the floor, it wouldn't break it. If you make it too much thinner, it's just a little more delicate. And if you wanted to use your hands, you're just gonna press down on it all the way around. And you're just gonna keep pressing. And you're gonna use less clay, so honestly, it'd be a lot easier to flatten it. I'm actually gonna take some of this off. I think that's too big. Just a little bit. For a jewelry dish, I don't think you need that big of one. So let's go ahead. I'm going to reball it up, and I'm going to show you how to do it with your hand if you want to press it with your hand. And so just the same kind of thing. Just push on it, flip it, and push on it. And keep doing that. And see, I'm going all the way around with kind of this part of my hand, because I can push harder. And then it's flat on the side that you're pushing down on anyway, so really you don't have to have the rolling pin. That is just an option if you prefer. And if this hurts your hands, of course, don't do it. It just kind of depends on, everybody's different. Okay, so first thing, let's figure out the top of the leaf and the bottom of the leaf. And so at the top of the leaf, go ahead and make a point. So figure out your leaf shape and just use your finger. See how I'm going underneath it? And I'm just pinching. I'm pinching and I'm pulling. So you can maneuver this clay. So you can pull on it to make certain parts thicker, push on your, just get it to where you like. You can always ball this up and roll it out again. I'd just rather you really play with the clay and kind of get some practice with sculpting. Okay, so I've got a point, and if you want to turn it to one edge, you can. And then depending on the shape, you can do the same thing all the way around. If you wanted to take your finger and push, you could make some little grooves all the way around. And if you want this, if you want this to be a dish, now this is going to lift the edge. So the more you push on it, the more of a dish it's going to look like. See how it's lifted? So do that all the way around. And see, as I'm going, I'm smoothing out my fingernail marks. So, just be mindful of your fingernails. Now, it's not as important with this project because we are going to use our pencil, and those fingernail marks might actually look like leaf marks. But some of our jewelry projects, you really do need to be very careful of what your fingernails are doing, because it can make your art look pretty sloppy fast. And then go on this side and do the same thing. And of course, if you have a different technique, you can leave it flat, and you can also push it. So there's lots of ways to do this. You don't have to hold it with one hand. I just do that because it's easier for me to really see what I'm doing, and it's also easier for me to show the camera. But if you leave it flat, you can do the same thing. You're just kind of moving it, pushing it. Now I'm not rushing it. I'm just moving slowly until I like what I see. And so see, just pushing all the way up. And then I'm moving it off the more I move it up, the more it's gonna curl and be a dish. And you know, if you don't like something, you can always push it back down. So it's fine, just kind of play. This is your time to relax and just have fun and play and not think about any stress. And I can either leave this flat. So see how right now this bottom part is flat. I don't want to curl all of it. Now you can if you want. You can also make a little stem if you wanted to pinch it and have more of a stem. This one, I pushed up with my finger. So see how this one kind of goes up? I could do that if I wanted. If I just wanted a little groove. So there's a lot of ways. Just think about if you want it flat at the bottom, if you want a little stem, if you want it to have a groove upward. And then I'm going to, see this edge right here, I'm just smoothing it out a little bit, cleaning it up. It's easier to clean this part up before we do the pencil work. So after you get your shape, I want you to go around. I want you to go around the edges and use your, I don't have fingernails. So I use this kind of ball of my finger. If you do have fingernails, you'll just kind of have to use your fingers this way. So I'm going around every edge, and I want you to look closely. So go around any little marks that don't look nice, clean them up. Especially if you're giving this as a present, you want it to look almost professionally made. Your friends will be so impressed. And this is a great present for, you know, some to bring to Thanksgiving or for Christmas. I swear everybody will use these for something. And it's small enough that anybody has room in their house for a little dish. And they can be decorative or functional. That's why I love these kind of projects. I love functional art because not everybody has room for a big painting or an actual standing sculpture, but everybody has room for a little dish. So I've smoothed it, and now I get to draw. Take your pencil and think about what kind of marks you want. And so let me show you these again. That, you know, obviously you're going to start with the center vein. This one, you know, that's a pretty realistic looking leaf. So start with the center vein. We're going to draw straight up. And if you want to do, you know, something decorative, you could do a couple lines in the center and lots of lines around it. All right, and so take your pencil and start at the bottom. Let me see. Let me turn it this way so you can see. And then just draw up. And you can draw probably, you know, you can press pretty hard for the center line because you want it to be seen, especially when we put the pigment on. Now I pressed harder at the bottom and then lighter at the top because the bottom of the vein is going to be thicker. And remember, clean your pencil off. So I'm going to go over this line again. And I want it to, I'm going to push my pencil in at the bottom because I want it to be kind of big. And then go over it again if you want, if you have any like clay that kind of got stuck. And this pencil was probably a little too sharp. And so it made a few more like little chunks. Can you see them? I'm going to smooth those out right now. And see, they come off. So they're like little balls. I'm just going to smooth them and try to get them into the clay to where they're not, because it will bake just like that. Anything you see, that's how it's going to look when it's baked. So I'm going to do this a few times. actually going to switch pencils because I don't like the sharp. I like them when they're a little more dull, personally. Everybody's different, so this one doesn't have quite a point on, as harsh as a point, so it just depends, but I definitely like the ones that aren't too sharp, and this is easier. So I'm going to go over it again, and I'm dragging it down this time, so if I have any extra clay, it's just going to come off at the bottom. So it's sometimes you want that middle line to be the most prominent, and it's the start, so you want it to look good. And so see how I'm kind of pushing down at this part to make it bigger? Okay, we got our center line. Now, you might want to think about the other veins going to, like a leaf, you'd have one going out to the edge, the corner of the leaf. So maybe from the center line, go out and do a line all the way to the other where it's curled up. And so see, each time I'm smoothing, and then I'm going to repeat and get any little clay chunks out. I don't know what else to call them other than chunks. I feel like it's it sounds weird, but I don't know what else to call them. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm pressing a little harder and then I'm lightening up. Play with the pressure, the texture on this. You want lots of different textures. That's what makes it look interesting and thoughtful. And I wipe it on this part of my hand. I don't even know why. It's just a habit. So you guys get the excess clay off however you want. But since I'm holding this, it's easier for me to wipe it on my hand. Now, that's very simple. I suggest you keep going. I think the more lines, the better it looks. And so from there, you know, you could draw some little lines out and maybe just start light. Now, right in this part, you might want to do lighter because you just want little lines throughout your leaf. If you look at a leaf from outside, which honestly, that would be the best thing to do. There's so many leaves outside right now. Pick one up that you like and draw from that. It's always fun to get inspiration from nature. So I'm just very lightly drawing lots and lots of lines, and then I'm going to draw more lines from those. And then the big lines, the veins right there, you can kind of go off, more lines off those. And if you like some of them, you can always deepen them later, but if you start light, you can kind of see if you're liking it. Hopefully you can see some of them, or hopefully you can see all of them. And so now I might deepen some of them. So I'm going to go over a few. Just because the center one stands out so much now that I don't want it to just look like a big harsh line. So I'm going to deepen some of these. And if you want yours to look more abstract and stylized versus realistic, then you sure can do that. You can do a pattern. I mean, you can make, do geometric shapes on the inside. Kind of depends on like what style you like. And if you're making it for somebody, then think about what their house looks like. I'm going to deepen these two at the top. So I'm working pretty slow. I mean, I'm really thoughtful about, I want to look at each thing that I'm doing and see if I like it. And then I add more. You don't want to overwork these, so be slow. Every mark, kind of pause after and think about if you want more marks, or if you want that deeper, or if you need to clean something up. You don't really want to rush these. Every mark matters, especially with clay. And that's why you have to be careful of your fingernails, because that's part of your art. If you have a fingernail mark in there, that's part of the art. So if you don't like it in there, then, or if it doesn't look like it's done on purpose, you need to smooth it out. And remember, these marks are going to stand out more once we put the pigment on them. So you're going to see them even more once we brush gold or silver. And so I might pause there. Now, like I said, if you want something a little more abstract and stylized, like look at these marks. That's more stripes. So that's 3 lines going straight up. And then it's just line, 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 all the way around. So each one of these is different. I really want you to make it your own. I mean, so if you like that, please do that. You know how to do it now. I know a lot of people kind of want to make more of a realistic leaf, so that's why I'm doing this as the example, but. And now, let's get our pigment. I suggest you use a paper plate because this will keep it clean and you won't waste pigment. These aren't, I mean, like a thing this size is $5.99. And so if you want to buy the colors individually, you can. But $5.99 isn't cheap. It's not so expensive because these last a long time. See how much is in there? And so think about what color you want. If you want, let's do a gold leaf. And if you want to brush silver on the edges, you can. And so take your gold and just tap. You don't want to use too much. This goes a long way. And like I said, you don't want to waste art materials because you can keep them for a long time and save money. And and then you just want a brush. A soft brush is best because a coarse brush might make more marks in your leaf. And we're painting. And remember, this always is done before you bake them. Pigment is kind of absorbing into the clay. Now, if you're using paints, you can do that after it's baked. And I'll show you some paints. If you prefer to use paints versus pigment, you can do that. The pigment's fantastic because it's got a real metallic shimmer on it. So it just looks super elegant. That's why I love these pigments. So I'm just going all, and because some of these marks are deep, I'm tapping my pigment on top because I want all of it to get all the way into the deepest grooves. So I'm tapping, and in a minute I'm gonna paint on it, like move it around like a paintbrush. But right now I want you to tap, and I want you to make sure to get every single groove. You cannot have any white marks. And if you're using different colors, if you did buy a set that has lots of colors in it, feel free to you could start the base color. You could start with a dark, like this one was done with a dark red. And see how the vein is really dark? And then I brushed gold and a lighter red on top of it. So I wanted to keep the deep vein dark. So if you're using this big set and you have lots of colors, then yes, please layer the colors and treat this just like paint. And you can start with whatever color you start with. That's what color the veins are going to be, because it's going to get deep in those, in those grooves. And then you can always brush color on top. And be gentle right here. You don't want to mess up all your pretty work. So kind of gently brush around. Don't harm your shape. And so see, there's lots of powder still on there. Now at this point I can paint. And I use my brush in a circular motion because I feel like it gets it real shiny. And so I'm just moving it around in circles. Now, the edges, you could continue doing the edges gold if you wanted. I think I'm going to do them silver just to show you if you wanted to use your silver on the edges just to do two colors, see what it looks like. Because I know most of you probably have the gold and silver. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to get a little bit of this silver, same thing. And activities directors, do not let them, don't let your residents get their own pigment because they will dump the whole thing out. So make sure to be in control of this because once you put it on the plate, sometimes it's hard to recycle and you don't know if this plate is dirty or if it mixes with the gold and it will tarnish your color. So I really suggest activities directors to be in charge of distributing the pigment. I try to trust certain residents and I swear they dump the whole thing out and then it gets wasted quicker. And you know what? You can kind of dust this brush off, and I'm actually going to dust it off on my pants because I don't care and I'm an artist, so I'm messy. So anyways, just dust that off so there's not a lot of gold, and take your brush, and if you have a new brush you can do that too. But and now if you want to paint your side silver, you just the same thing. I want you to hold it because it'll be easier, and tap, and you can just paint the edges, and it's just going to add a little extra shimmer. And you can even kind of go onto your gold if you want. Now the gold and the silver mixed together will kind of make a rose gold. So let me just show you. See the difference? And so this could be something you like, and if you don't like it, then just paint it all gold. That's fine. I just want to give you options. And so carefully go all the way around. And see, there's a lot of gold on this part, so it's going to blend together. Remember, these pigments mix just like paint, so. And it's kind of pretty. Even some of the silver is going to dust into the gold, and I think it looks really pretty. I love this silver. It's kind of a pearl, but it is so sparkly. I just think these pigments make everything look gorgeous. It looks so professional, you know, and people are always blown away that you made it. It's these pigments. It just looks like real metal. And because metal supplies are too expensive, we can't do that. So I like to buy supplies that we could pretend like we're making metal. And you don't have to do the bottom of it, but I'm going to do parts of it just that I might see. So the places where it's really lifted, I want you to make sure it's polished. And so down here, I'm going to get right there. Okay. So now that silver is subtle, but I think you can see it. See how it just sparkles? It's interesting. I actually have never done this before. So this is my first time using just silver on the edges, and I like it. I think it's pretty. And so at this point, if you like it, I think it's done. Now you can always do some finishing touches. It's a little harder once you have the pigment on to do more drawing, but you can. And be careful. Remember, your hands have oil on them. So if you're touching this pigment at this point, you're rubbing it off, and it will change how it's soaking or absorbing into the clay. So I don't want you to touch the pigment a lot after you put it on. So see how I'm holding my leaf? I'm holding it from the bottom. So be very careful with this pigment because your hands will take it away. All right, so once you like it, If you think it sets well, now if you do want more edges, you can always go in and do more edges, just put more pigment on top because you might rub it off. But if you like it the way it is, which I actually really like this one, so I'm gonna bake it, and it's gonna be the same temperature as always, 275. Please make sure to put this on foil. I don't really want you to put it directly on a baking sheet, unless you have a baking sheet just for polymer clay projects. You could do that. But if you don't have a baking sheet set aside for these projects, then put foil on it to keep it clean and just set it right on top. And go ahead and bake these for 12 minutes and leave them in the oven. Do not touch them while they're cooling. That's when these will break. It's very fragile while it's cooling. And these are thick. These are bigger. This is our biggest project. So it's gonna take longer to cool. So 12 minutes, and maybe even, just take it out of the oven and leave it on the baking sheet and let it cool all the way, I would say for 5 to 10 minutes. And then it's good. And then it's gonna be cool and perfectly durable and ready to use and ready to give away if you'd like. And like I said, if you decide you'd want a necklace, just do a smaller version of this and poke a hole in the top and use a jump ring. So it's the exact same. And so just use a jump ring and then put that on any necklace that you have, a gold chain, or you can use ribbon if you want. Whatever you want it to use for your neck, you can do. And if you do a necklace, you might want to paint the back just to make it look like it's real gold. Okay, well, thank you for watching. I hope you have fun. See you next time. Bye.